Hello there, folks, and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo, aka that Tellest guy, and I am joined by my lovely co-host Brianna.
Hello.
Today we figured because it's the 4th of July and we, by happenstance, couldn't do the stream this week. Is it 2 weeks in a row that our health has stopped us from being able to do it on Monday?
Yeah, it's not fun being old.
I was liberated from the doctors on Monday. I had a colonoscopy, and typically you don't have a lot of pain after colonoscopy. This is my second one. But after my last colonoscopy, unrelated, I ended up hurting my back pretty bad. And I have a slipped disc. And all the pressure in my colon this time was pushing up against that. And it was kidney stone level pain. So not a fun thing.
I've been liberated from the worst pain of my shingles.
Mm-hmm. So
hooray!
We've been having a fun June and July.
No.
No. But anyway, we figured that we would talk about the various, since it's America's Freedom Day, we're going to talk about some of the freedoms of the Tellest universe. There's a lot of I didn't do this on purpose, but there's a lot of prison break moments and stuff like that throughout the various stories.
That's true. Well, I feel like that's kind of a staple of a lot of fantasy films. You're trying to subvert sort of the expectations. There's a heist involved in a lot of cases.
I have 20 books. Does that sound right?
Sounds about right. 20
books, and we have 6 examples to go over today. So more than a quarter of my books have some kind of prison break moment kind of thing. So, and yet, I think we don't have any of the well, we will, but we don't have any yet of the big prison break moments immortalized in map form. So maybe we have to figure some of that out. But anyway, so we figured we would start almost chronologically. We're starting with Transformed. In Transformed, the whole concept of the story was...
Which is the second book in the Mageborn series.
Thank you. The whole concept of Transformed was one of the familiars of our wizards was accidentally transformed into a human for way longer than they thought he was going to be.
Not so accidentally.
Well, the accident was how long he was.
Right.
So they traveled to a place called Sun Garden in the south of Daltane, which is kind of anti-magic. They don't like magic at all. Even
though it's a excuse me, it's a, you know what? You go.
Him. Here, I'm coughing for you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, let's rattle your chest.
Ow. So even though it's a magical world, this city of Sun Garden essentially wants to keep up appearances of total normalcy, quote-unquote normalcy, where it's all humans and non-magic users.
They're very wealthy, so the idea is we're going to use our wealth to show that, being rich is its own magic, essentially.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So, the only thing that they kind of let happen every now and then is, a wizard can help, offload a ship or something like that of their goods. But, if Adelia or Gaston or Lucinda or anybody showed up at the city, they would be heavily advised not to use their magic. Now, Lucinda don't give a s.
True.
So, but in any case, they're looking for a specific alchemist who they think might be able to, come up with some kind of concoction to help the poor little kitty turn back into a kitty. And in the process of going through everything, they learn that there is a werebear population in the city, and Lucinda doesn't sit right with her or Adelia that these people are probably going to be executed because they've been found out to be,
magical beings essentially. Right. And obviously, if you don't make the connection, werebears are humanoid that turn into
werewolf, but bear.
Werewolf, but bear, exactly.
Yeah. So the fun part about it is, there is a sort of jailbreaky kind of moment where Adelia becomes a mouse, and the cat, who's a human, salivates a little bit, a little bit of his old life filtering through, so that she can go into the prison and kind of alert them, hey, we're going to get you out.
And I forget her name, but the cool prison guard lady.
Rhea?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Captain Rhea, who along with the refugees from Sun Garden, end up becoming a huge population inflection in the Forsythia. So
I don't remember if this is the vibe of the character, like the way she's written, but I'm now imagining Hannah Waddingham as that character.
it's pretty good. That's pretty good. I could say it. And fun fact: every now and then we talk about Tower Sphere. Captain Rhea is one of Forsinthia's Tower Sphere champions.
Which is awesome because she's holding her own against magic users, and she's not.
Nope. Let's go to our second Prison Break story. So.
Oh wait, go back once. I'm sorry, I
once.
forgot to mention. The werebears were also a April Fool's joke. I think that's where they.
No.
Oh, it was the other way around.
Yes. So the
Okay.
werebears came first, and then I had the art, and I went, I want to do Care Bears.
Ah, gotcha. So we have them in this style, and like the muscular like warrior style, but with like little symbols on their bellies.
they're not Care Bears. They're Beware Bears.
Beware bears.
So our second story is from Lord of Thunder, which is the second Son of the Storm book. It doesn't take place in the story proper. There's like bookends in the Bolt stories for whatever reason. Like that's the mechanism that I wrote those stories with. Like it's, hey, I have the narrator who's going to be telling these stories because it's Bolt or Dorn. Like it's a little bit of an unreliable kind of standpoint. Like, did they tell us everything? Did they leave out things on purpose or whatever? And Bolt ends up getting captured at the end of the first book, and in the second book, he is regaling one of the other prisoners with like the tale that made him a hero. Because the first book is kind of just like his perspective of how his dad, his adopted father Dorn,
His adopted dwarven father,
Yeah.
Dorn. He's the only human in the dwarven
clan. Yeah. Dorn is kind of a hero in the first book, and he helps a little bit, but he's young and impressionable and doesn't really know his powers yet. But the second book is all about him kind of falling into his own, and it was the first book, I think, where we like really explored like a lot of the other races, because his little band of heroes was a dwarf, an Avarian, a Hodron, which is a half giant in the Tellest universe, and a Delver, which is a dark elf in the Tellest universe, and a frost giant eventually. So it was a fun little thing to experience, and it's he's telling the story, and he's telling it to like a monk who's also been captured by the Tarsonian army, basically, and subconsciously the monk has been like rubbing his hands together to make Bolt do the same thing to weaken his bonds, and at the end he's like, all right, you're free, now get me out of here, and it's a failed prison break because Bolt doesn't quite get out. He's free to tell a third story to someone in the third book in the series, and we'll have to see what happens then. Maybe there will be another prison break in his future.
So in the first example that we gave, Adelia is the one that like snuck into the prison. Mm-hmm. He's freeing them from within.
Right, yeah.
So,
he
same different scenarios for the same type of topic.
Yep. All prison breaks of sorts, but.
Oh, me. This is the Silver.
I'm just seeing if you're paying attention.
Yeah, I'm paying attention. They free the Titan. I don't remember what happens, so you're gonna have to do stuff.
So in Silver Serpent, it's kind of like a. Rhianna and I were very much into both The Flash and Teen Wolf at the time. So the Silver Serpent story has kind of a Monsters of the Week kind of feel to it. Every chapter is either setting up the sort of the formula or adhering to it. So in the first like 2 chapters, you get to be introduced to the new character, to the heroes, the Silver Serpent, who here you see not wearing silver, and her sidekick, the Emerald Adder, who she hates the name.
He was trying to be cool.
He was trying to be cool.
He gave himself that name.
And you never give yourself a nickname. It just doesn't work.
No.
So they end up, kind of getting introduced, and then within the next chapter, you end up getting the MacGuffin of the story, which is the Arcanix Compendium, which is a tome filled with the magical powers of the Calistrazi, which is a big overarching like group in the Tellest universe. And the Calistrazi, they were the first men who kind of withdrew from the mountains after Tellest and Earth converged. And because of that, there's a lot of magic kind of permeating the air and everything. And when the Arcanix Compendium activates in the second chapter, everybody in the city of Argos ends up, if they're already powered, but like maybe so infinitesimal that they don't even realize it, their powers get amped up to 1,000. So the very first character who's introduced in this manner is the Titan, who is just a laborer who's kind of known to be strong anyway, and it's because he's got the strain where he's super powerful. But his regular super strength, so to speak, is just being used for labor purposes and everything like that. And he goes a little nuts when the same person who he's working for, I believe, is the same person who built his house, and his house collapses on him. He's fine, but not so his wife, who is pregnant, and I believe his daughter. So he goes a little cray-cray, and what?
I love your summary of your own book. You go cray-cray.
He go cray-cray. But because he is the first villain in the story, he ends up going into to prison after Kelvin, the acting Silver Serpent, ends up putting him, away, outsmarting him and stuff like that. But there's bigger, badder guys that show up, and Kelvin decides
need a strong guy to fight the bad guys.
And Titan, for all he did wrong, he was kind of right. The dude was a jerk who was on purpose building things that were going to fail eventually, and ended up costing people their lives.
Plus, someone's not a villain if they act out of a trauma response.
Right.
Like, I truly believe that. I think in order to be a villain, you have to have
willful
malice. You have to have had like forethought about your intention of causing harm. If you do, like, I think it's the same with like a crime of passion. You know what I mean? Like, you're not thinking about it; you just do it. You're not like what you did is wrong, but you're not a villain. A villain seeks to destroy, harm, create, cruelty for the sake of cruelty.
Right.
We know who they are in this world.
So get him. So the Titan is kind of our first big anti-hero from this part of the world, and that's kind of like the notion that we got from The Flash and Teen Wolf and stuff like that. Like, a lot of that kind of like Monster of the Week stuff is in those stories and in mine. It's just people who are misunderstood. It's people who are hurting. It's not always the case. There are some people who are born with malice in their hearts, and it's hard to redeem those kind of people. But.
And I think that Tellest follows like, what parallels a lot of the real world. It's the people who are born with the malice. You don't see them being the villains that they are. They're working like
in the shadows.
In the shadows, basically. But a lot of not all of it's black and white either. I think that is a boring way to have a villain. Like, I'm just a bad guy for the sake of being a bad guy. Like, you need the cultural and the context, basically. But yeah, so freeing a quote-unquote anti-hero is another form of a prison break. Mm-hmm. But really, in this case, you're saying, I'm sorry I put you away. I need your help.
Yes, very much so. All right, that is going to wrap us up for the first half of our episode. We're going to go to our sponsor for about a minute and a half, and then we'll be back on the other side with 3 more prison break stories. We'll talk to you in a second. And now, a word from our sponsors. In The Blues of Atlantis, a new fantasy novel by international best-selling author Patricia Elliott, there are some strange and wonderful things that unfold. If you've ever wondered what would happen if your mermaid cosplay turned out to be more truth than fiction, this book is for you. Our main character finds out there's more to her family and her bloodline than anyone ever told her. With secrets unraveling fast and characters that aren't exactly trustworthy, readers get swept into a high-stakes chase with deadly consequences. It's got fantasy, suspense, and some serious emotional weight, all in a fast-paced package.
If you're looking for a fresh read with mythic vibes and razor-sharp twists, check out our promo for The Blues of Atlantis on the Tellest website today. If you like your fantasy packed with high-stakes quests, immortal villains, and magic that messes with the fate of the world, you're going to want to check this one out. Sword of Vengeance, the feature-length fantasy debut by Chris Adams, has got knights, demons, gods, and betrayals. All the good stuff. Follow characters that can save a kingdom or destroy the world. There's action, ancient secrets, and a ton of twists you won't see coming. It moves along at a great pace, and it's set in a world that feels immersive and lived in. Plus, it's book one in what looks like the start of a massive new saga. Grab your copy of Sword of Vengeance by Chris Adams, and check out our promotion for the book on the Tellest website today.
Alrighty, we are back, and we are going to be talking about our fourth Prison Break. This is, I think, probably one of the more iconic ones, and I almost feel a little bad about spoiling it. So if folks do plan on reading The April's Fools, stop listening now.
Mute your volume.
Mute your volume, break. and then wait until the picture changes, because that'll indicate when we moved on to something else. But
this is a very fun book. It's a very well orchestrated. Well, the heist itself is well orchestrated, but overall, like, the book is really good. So no spoilers would be good.
So the concept of The April's Fools is all the good heroes have been taken by Black Lane, which is like the villainous country that they're currently in, and you're left with kind of the scraps, the bottom of the heap as far as heroes go.
The ones whose powers are not considered to be dangerous because they're so bad.
These are not A-list heroes, these are D-list heroes,
right,
with the potential to be A-list, right? Like, the whole concept is, like, none of these people's powers, when you first think of them, can be used properly. Now, they've not been trained, like, they see their power and they think, like, this is going to be useless, but each of them within this story show, like, all right, I have ways to make this work. And kind of the opposite of Silver Serpent, where you're putting away a bad guy every chapter, so to speak. The main course of this story is putting together a found family, bit by bit, and their big task at the end of the book is a bunch of people have been captured, and before they're taken to, their Guantanamo Bay, they're trying to see if they can rescue these people. Now, Tellest is not in, like, the Steam age or anything like that. They're getting close to that kind of stuff, so they're close to cannons and, pistols and stuff like that. They have clockwork kind of steampunky stuff.
Right. More of a, like, the Victorian flair, but like before the Industrial Revolution. Right,
before their version of
that.
So, thus far we have not had a train, and I thought of, like, a train heist is one of those popular things from, like, a lot of stories, and I thought, let's try and figure out a way to do this. So I invented a new creature called a land thresher, which is a creature that can partially phase into the ground and travel through it, and the Black Lanian army, and the Ebon Hammer, which is like the group of bounty hunters that basically are hunting magic users, and people who have the strain. They are the biggest hypocrites because they will use magic items, they will put a yoke on a magic creature, and they attached it to basically like a land train. So just like a series of humongous carriages that are connected, and it's like a slave train, basically, moving things into the southeast of the country to try and, like, bring them into this fortress that no one ever returns from. So the heroes know that there are people waiting to be rescued on this train, and it is a fun kind of exploration of a train heist in a fantasy setting.
And I imagined it, like, as I was reading it, I imagined it kind of like with that kind of Wild West kind of flair, where, like, you got, like, the horses, like, coming up on the sides.
And that is exactly what I was going for.
It's a very coordinated effort to free the people, and I think that it's a awesome underdog story, because you have these people that had, like, not weakened, but
ostensibly weaker powers.
Essentially useless powers, really, when you think about it. And then their journey in finding each other is finding ways to use that power to, be more powerful. To be more of like the A-listers, not necessarily to that point, but they use what they have to protect, the people around them.
So, for example, we had Quicksand, who could only make the ground by his feet soft, so he could only trap himself in dirt.
Which does nothing for anyone.
Throughout the story, he learns how to better control that kind of stuff, so he's able to kind of manipulate Earth a little bit better. He's not imprisoning himself. We have Bubbles, who kind of is the most competent out of everybody because she knows how to do her power.
Right.
It's just
bubbles.
Yeah. She learns to encase things in the bubbles.
Right. Use it like as a protective or like flight.
Yep.
Mechanism.
So she's doing some cool stuff, and then the other person who really has a good handle on her powers is the Ointment.
Yeah. We lovingly call her that. They don't, but she essentially can, she could heal she couldn't heal anything. She could just take pain away.
She could make you think that you were killed.
Yeah, she could make pain away, which makes sense because Maria, did I get her name right? Yes. I'm really bad with names in real life and in books. So Maria's power is, we lovingly call her Sparky because she could only do small bits of magic out of her hands, but every time she put fire out of her hands, she would burn herself.
Right.
So
yeah, she's not quite got to the point where she can't immolate herself. So it is a sacrifice every time. Remember how Wolverine
hurts every time.
It's basically Maria. So,
but if the Ointment is holding her, then essentially she could withstand that level of pain in order to allow...
It's a cool little duo to work with there.
Right.
And I feel like there was so much that happened during that. That train heist was
a lot
30 pages.
Yeah,
I mean, we separated it into different chapters so that it had a nice flow. But a lot of stuff happened in that. I think out of all the prison breaks that we've done, that's probably the best one.
And that's a mobile prison break.
Adds a little bit of extra flavor.
It do.
Anything else before we move on to our next one?
Just read this book. Anyone who's listening. Or finds it later. Read it. It's good.
Our next one is kind of a quirky one. We have...
this is an animal rescue story.
Yes. In a prison of sorts.
Right.
So, in Dragon Speaker, our would-be Dragon Speaker is Kayonani. The dragon of her tribe is slain, and it doesn't usually happen that way. The dragons usually live a long time, and the Dragon Speaker kind of shifts out every 50 to 100 years. And Kayonani is deemed the next Dragon Speaker because only one person can make a bond with the dragon while that person's alive. And the previous Dragon Speaker cannot make a bond with another dragon, nor would it make a lot of sense because typically they're old and they're only going to last a little bit longer.
Right.
So most of the story is about Kayonani's pilgrimage to where her tribe's dragon hails from. So it's a little bit of like a man versus nature story, and then it's I've found the dragon and he can't do squat.
Right. He's just a baby.
Just a baby. So he, as part of kind of like the dragon upbringing, usually, like Mama Dragon would be there to say, all right, you can do it, here's how you do it. But Mama Dragon never came back, and Tellest, our dragon in this story, is kind of left to his own devices and doesn't know how to fly properly, so never learned how to get out of the brood cave that he was born in.
He's like, what, am I a wombat? Am I a, what am I?
And he does have siblings, and the siblings left him, and they never came back.
Because they figured out how to fly.
Yes. So, Kayonani gets there and kind of helps him to determine, this is how you do it, right? You're going to have to do it this way. So, very different compared to some of the other ones that we were talking about.
But she still frees him from being trapped and being alone, and she saves him from those that would do him harm in the moment.
This is a rather short story that we wrote. I mean, still novella-sized and everything like that. This was the first story that I wrote while I was working at the job 2 jobs ago. And speaking of trains, this story was mostly written on my train rides to work. So, and we're going to go to our last one, which the entire thing is basically a prison break.
The whole thing is a what he said. No, it's all about trying to get free from the prison that you're in, essentially. So you've got so first of all, the Quantum Quest story is the novelization of the Quantum Quest game, which is the Living Dungeon board game that Michael and his brother created. It is a heroes versus chambers story, essentially. So in this case, you're freeing yourself, like the prison itself is the villain of the story, really. The rooms are intended to trap you or to hurt you or your party in some way. So Michael's pulling up the Quantum Quest book. We sell these as a bundle at
fairs and conventions and stuff like that. So the fun thing is, like, we've been introducing certain characters that show up in this book in other stories as well, and it is in the anthologies that we wrote, Tales of Tellest, we have Reese and Nersha, who's kind of like the keeper of the void, basically, which is time and space. And then we kind of blended it into the story of Quantum Quest. So she's sort of responsible for the Quantum Quest game and the novelization. And then Virgil is someone who showed up in the second Tales of Tellest story. So we blended those in with actual characters who we got to explore in the Quantum Quest game. So you can see here, we just used the box art as the back cover for the story. So, like Rihanna said, the whole thing is kind of like a prison break of its own, because these people are trapped, like, as far as the story goes, these people from different dimensions, all Tellest, are trapped within this living dungeon. So, like, you might run into an Alicia Main, and it's not the Alicia Main of your timeline.
Yeah, it's very wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Especially because, like, in the Quantum Quest game itself, the main mechanism is that you're never playing the same game twice, because you're shuffling the rooms, you're shuffling the players.
A lot of the inspiration that went into the novelization was, there's a sci-fi series called The Cube, and that's kind of where it came from. It's like, you're trapped in this dungeon that shifts uncontrollably. So, like, how are you supposed to find your way out? And we were talking about how the final battle in The April Fools was big. This story had a climax that was like 90 pages long, and I kept it together as like a bonus scene for like people who are on the Patreon and stuff like that. But we cut it down significantly, because it was one of the things about me is that I used to be a professional wrestler, and I used to like really love the choreography of fighting. So a lot of times it's hard for me to pull back when you're doing a fight like that. One of my favorite authors, R.A. Salvatore, he's really good about being punchy and then like putting the veil up, like when something like that is necessary, and then like you come back later and you see the damage that was done, and then you see like the last bit of the fight. I am not great at that.
He likes to. Well, you're choreographing a fight sequence with your words, but really, I feel like you're writing a scene in a movie, like in an action movie. Right. So it's more like you've grown as an author to pull back on the full descriptions and give like the essence of the fight and like where it matters, but you still do like to choreograph the entire thing
so
in form.
And to wit, like, that scene, like I said, greatly cut down, so you're only getting like 15 pages of content. Like, we lost stuff that you see, like the moves and stuff like that, but it wasn't necessary to get the story going and stuff like that.
Those are the kind of things that I'm excited about, like the future of AI, because we've talked a lot about the use of AI on this channel, and like if you're like, as long as you're not like monetizing in the way that you're passing it off as your own work, but there is so much potential, because one day I feel like we're going to be at the point where you can just feed that choreography into AI and it will demonstrate with animation exactly what happens. Yeah. So those kind of things are preserved, and they'll be available on the Patreon and stuff.
Yep.
When we get to that point in our increasingly scary society with artificial intelligence on the rise.
Yep. So
we will need to be liberated from the machines.
yes, we will never kneel to your empire of steel.
Unless it's an increased quality of life, then I'm fine with it.
Shackle me, daddy. So that is our 6 liberation stories for the, today. I'm sure over the course of the next 15 years of writing Tellest, we'll have some other ones as well. But
an honorable mention to liberation in the very first iteration of the very book, which is the first Bindings of Fate book, which is what started all of this. There is a scene with Dirk, the werewolf, who's in a caged thing on wheels, basically, being hauled by a carriage, and the OG character of Chaos Cregan, stop the carriage, I know that wolf.
yeah, I've been mocked incessantly about that line.
We made it a t-shirt.
Not a t-shirt, it's a hoodie.
A hoodie.
Mm-hmm. And eventually, we're going to use AI to make a Tellest opera for an April Fool's thing, and we're going to use that line in the audio.
Absolutely. That's one thing we love to do, is recycle the comedic elements of the books and everything
into something super cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's going to wrap us up for today. Let's go to our...
I want to mention one thing, in the interest of freedom. Take care of your chihuahuas today. Take care of your doggies that are afraid of the boomsies. That's what we'll be doing. Our eldest baby chihuahua has big old satellite ears, and tonight with the fireworks, she will be shivering and hiding behind the toilet, and I will be laying in the tub to keep her company. So protect your babies from the boomsies.
Yeah, we've heard some horror stories in the past, so just
don't leave your babies alone if you can help it.
Mm-hmm. And to that extent, also be mindful of like veterans who might be going through things like that as well. Right. I'm not saying that they're going to hide behind a toilet or anything, but they have their own hardships to deal with. So
absolutely, we're big proponents of like respect in the residential areas. Like,
talk to your government officials about changing your fireworks displays to drone displays. I don't think that it would be a bad thing to see a 500 drone large Eastern style dragon flying through the skies of Chicago.
That would be awesome.
All right.
That's all.
Folks, on the screen right now, you're going to see a few places that you can find Tellest content out there on the internet. Tellest.com is a great first place to start because it will usually bring you to all the projects that we're working on. We also have 3 map-facing sites that you can go to get your D&D tabletop, also Pathfinder, Warhammer, all that good stuff. Patreon.com/Tellest is where you can find all of our stuff that you can get on a monthly basis. We try to drop 8 map packs per month at least. Tellest.etsy.com is where you can find physical versions of our maps. We just started releasing around 3 more per day, I think, until we try and get everything back up to speed, because we have something that's going to be happening in August that I need some maps for. So, excuse me, a little bit of a burp. BattleMapFantasy.com will bring you to our drive-through RPG page, and that's where you can get a la carte digital versions of our maps. At this point, we have 198 maps, and there's bundles and stuff like that, so we have over 200 items. We've also got 2 TikTok channels for you to check out. @Tales of Tellest is going to bring you to our Poochies, including the aforementioned Zelda, who's got the big satellite ears and will be sad all night. And we've got @WeirdWitchWands, where you can find all of Rihanna's one-of-a-kind handcrafted goodies, including magic wands and mimic chests and other.
I'm expanding my offerings.
Yep. And then we've got 2, soon to be 3 video sites that you're going to want to check out. YouTube.com/@WorldOfTellest is where you're going to be able to find all of the Tellest videos after they're knocked off of the Twitch platform. But Twitch.tv/ThatTellestGuy is the only place that you can check us out live. We usually have things up at least 3 weeks in advance on Twitch. And you can also earn things like quest coins for when we're doing the Quantum Quest live features and things like that. Good stuff. Anything else from you? Nope. So that's going to wrap us up. We will be back perhaps on Monday. I don't know for sure. We'll have to see. Next week we might take off because I have a lot of editing to do, and I want to do it. So anyway, until the next time we meet, we'll miss you.